The sun was setting over New York City, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The streets were unusually quiet, as if the entire world was holding its breath. Above the United Nations headquarters, a massive alien ship hovered silently. Its smooth metallic surface shimmered like liquid silver under the fading sunlight. People gathered on rooftops, balconies, and sidewalks, staring up in awe and fear. No one knew what to expect. For decades, humanity had wondered about life beyond Earth, but now that it was here, the reality felt overwhelming. President William Hayes stood at the edge of the UN building's rooftop, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. His sharp blue eyes scanned the horizon, then drifted upward to the colossal spacecraft above. He had spent years preparing for moments like this, addressing crises, making tough decisions, and leading with confidence, but nothing could have prepared him for this. Beside him stood Ambassador Laura Bennett, her calm demeanor masking the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. She adjusted her glasses and glanced at the president, searching for any sign of weakness. "They're not just visiting," Laura said softly, breaking the silence. "They're watching us." Hayes nodded slowly. "And judging us," he added, his voice low and steady. "Let's hope we pass their test." Moments later, a bright light descended from the alien ship, illuminating the area below. A smaller vessel detached itself and floated gracefully toward the ground. It landed without a sound, and a ramp extended downward. Everyone held their breath as figures emerged. 1, 2, 3. They were tall, slender beings with shimmering skin that seemed to change color with every movement. Their large, almond-shaped eyes glowed faintly, and their presence radiated an otherworldly elegance. A hush fell over the crowd as the aliens approached the waiting delegation. Hayes stepped forward, his posture stiff but dignified. "On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you," he began, his voice echoing through the speakers stood up around the area. "We are honored by your visit and eager to learn from you." One of the aliens tilted its head slightly, studying Hayes with an unreadable expression. Then, in perfect English, it spoke. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council. Our mission is to assess your readiness to join the interstellar community." Its voice was melodic yet firm, carrying a weight that sent shivers down everyone's spines. Laura stepped forward next, offering a polite smile. "We've waited a long time for this day. Humanity has much to offer, and we're ready to contribute positively to the galaxy." The alien paused, its glowing eyes narrowing ever so slightly. "Your history suggests otherwise," it replied bluntly. "Your wars, your exploitation of resources, your disregard for balance. These actions concern us deeply." Hayes clenched his jaw, forcing himself to remain composed. This wasn't going to be easy. He had hoped for a warm welcome, perhaps even admiration for humanity's achievements. Instead, they were being called out before the entire world. Cameras flashed, capturing every moment, while billions watched live broadcasts from across the globe. As the conversation continued, Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that the aliens already knew far more than they let on. Their words hinted at secrets uncovered, truths hidden beneath layers of denial. Laura noticed the tension in his stance and gently touched his arm, a silent reminder to stay focused. For now, diplomacy was key. But deep inside, Hayes feared what might come next. The days following the aliens' arrival were a whirlwind of activity. Negotiations between Earth's leaders and the Galactic Council stretched late into the night, with both sides exchanging information and probing for weaknesses. President William Hayes tried to maintain an air of confidence, but behind closed doors, he was visibly uneasy. The aliens had brought up troubling topics: environmental destruction, wars fought over greed, and experiments conducted in secret labs. Each accusation felt like a punch to the gut, and Hayes knew some of them hit too close to home. Ambassador Laura Bennett worked tirelessly to navigate the delicate discussions. She spent hours reviewing documents, preparing statements, and strategizing with her team. But even she couldn't ignore the growing tension surrounding Hayes. He seemed distracted, often staring off into space during meetings or cutting off mid-sentence when asked about certain policies. Laura began to suspect there was more to this story than he was letting on. One evening, after another grueling session with the council, Laura confronted him in his private office. "Mr. President," she said firmly, closing the door behind her, "we need to talk." Hayes looked up from his desk, his face pale under the dim light. Papers were scattered everywhere, along with empty coffee cups. "What is it, Laura?" he asked, his tone weary. "You're hiding something," she said bluntly. "I can see it in your eyes. If we don't address whatever skeletons are in our closet, the council will find out anyway, and they won't hesitate to use it against us." Hayes hesitated, his fingers drumming nervously on the desk. Finally, he sighed and leaned back in his chair. "You're right," he admitted quietly. "There are decisions I made that weren't exactly ethical, things I thought were necessary at the time." Laura crossed her arms, her expression hardening. "Like what?" He hesitated again, then reached into a locked drawer and pulled out a folder marked classified. Inside were reports detailing secret programs authorized under his administration. They included experiments on alien artifacts recovered from crashed ships, attempts to reverse engineer advanced technology, and even weaponization efforts. Hayes explained how he believed these projects would protect Earth from potential threats, but as he spoke, his voice grew quieter, weighed down by guilt. Laura stared at the documents, her heart sinking. "This is bad," she whispered. "If the council finds out." "They already know," Hayes interrupted, his shoulders slumping. "That's why they're here. They didn't come just to welcome us. They came to judge us, and I don't think we're going to like their verdict." News of humanity's misdeeds spread quickly among the council members. During the next meeting, they presented evidence gathered through surveillance, footage of illegal mining operations, deforestation, and military testing using alien tech. The room fell silent as the images played on a large screen. Hayes shifted uncomfortably in his seat, avoiding eye contact with both the council and his own team. Laura tried to salvage the situation, arguing that humanity was still learning, still evolving. "We've made mistakes, yes," she said, addressing the council. "But we're capable of change. Give us a chance to prove ourselves." The lead alien representative tilted its head, studying her carefully. "Change requires honesty," it replied. "Are you willing to admit your faults and take responsibility?" All eyes turned to Hayes. He swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on him. For the first time in years, he realized that running from the truth wasn't an option anymore. Whatever happened next, humanity's fate depended on facing its darkest secrets head-on. The summons came unexpectedly, just as Earth's leaders thought they had more time to prepare. The Galactic Council requested an official hearing aboard their mothership, an event that would determine humanity's future. President William Hayes felt a cold knot form in his stomach as he read the message. It wasn't a request, it was a command. He glanced at Ambassador Laura Bennett, who stood nearby, her face pale but determined. "This is it," she said softly, breaking the silence. "They're ready to decide our fate." Hayes nodded, though his mind raced with dread. He knew this moment would come eventually, but now that it was here, he couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. The council had already uncovered too much, too many secrets, too many crimes. And while Laura worked tirelessly to frame humanity's actions as mistakes made in ignorance, Hayes couldn't ignore the gnawing guilt inside him. He had authorized experiments that crossed ethical lines, all in the name of protecting Earth. Now those choices loomed over him like shadows. The journey to the alien ship was surreal. A sleek shuttle descended from the mothership and transported Hayes, Laura, and a small delegation of human representatives into the vast structure above. As they stepped inside, they were greeted by an environment unlike anything they'd ever seen. The walls shimmered with soft, shifting colors, and the air hummed faintly. as if alive. Alien council members moved gracefully through the corridors, their glowing eyes watching silently. The trial room was immense, with high ceilings and a circular platform at its center. Hayes and his team took their places on the platform, surrounded by towering aliens seated in elevated chairs. Their presence was both awe-inspiring and intimidating. One of them, a tall being with iridescent skin, stepped forward to address the gathering. "We have reviewed your history," it began, its voice resonating through the chamber. "We have seen your wars, your exploitation of resources, and your disregard for balance. But most concerning are your attempts to weaponize technology not meant for you." Its gaze locked onto Hayes, and for a moment, he felt completely exposed. Laura stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "Your findings are accurate," she admitted, "but humanity is still learning. We've made grave errors, yes, but we're capable of growth. Please, give us the chance to correct our path." The council listened without expression, their faces unreadable. Then another member spoke, its tone colder than before. "Actions speak louder than words. Show us proof of your willingness to change." Hayes swallowed hard, his palms sweating. This was the moment he had feared, the moment when he would have to confront his own role in humanity's failures. Laura glanced at him, her eyes urging him to stay strong. But deep down, he knew there was no hiding anymore. The truth was about to come out, whether he liked it or not. As the council presented damning evidence, videos of illegal experiments, environmental destruction, and military projects, Hayes struggled to maintain his composure. Each revelation felt like a punch to the gut, stripping away any defense he might have prepared. Laura tried to counter their arguments, emphasizing humanity's potential for redemption, but her words seemed hollow against the overwhelming proof. Finally, the lead council member turned to Hayes directly. "You bear responsibility for many of these actions," it stated, its voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. "Will you deny this?" Hayes froze, his heart pounding. All eyes were on him now. He could feel the weight of billions of people resting on his shoulders. For a long moment, he said nothing, his mind racing. Then, slowly, he shook his head. "No," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I won't deny it." The room fell silent, the gravity of his admission hanging in the air. Whatever happened next, Hayes knew one thing for certain. Humanity's future depended on what he did next. The room was deathly quiet after President William Hayes' admission. The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy and unrelenting. He stood there, his head bowed, his hands trembling slightly at his sides. For the first time in years, he felt truly exposed, stripped of his power, his authority, and the carefully crafted image he had built for himself. The alien council members stared down at him, their glowing eyes unreadable, as if they were studying a specimen under a microscope. Ambassador Laura Bennett watched Hayes with a mix of shock and concern. She had suspected he was hiding something, but she hadn't imagined it would be this big. Her mind raced, trying to figure out how to salvage the situation. If Hayes crumbled now, humanity's chances of redemption would collapse with him. But as she looked at him, she saw something unexpected. Not just guilt, but a flicker of resolve. It was faint, but it was there. "I authorized those programs," Hayes continued, his voice stronger now, though still shaky. "I thought I was doing what was best for Earth. I believed we needed to prepare for threats from beyond our world. I convinced myself that the ends justified the means." He paused, swallowing hard. "But I was wrong. What I did, it wasn't leadership. It was fear disguised as strength." Laura stepped forward, her heart pounding. She knew she had to say something, anything, to keep the council from dismissing humanity entirely. "Your honors," she began, addressing the council directly. "President Hayes has admitted his mistakes. That takes courage, and it shows a willingness to confront the truth. Humanity isn't perfect. We never claimed to be. But we're capable of learning. We're capable of change." One of the council members tilted its head, its expression impossible to read. Admitting fault is only the first step, it said, its melodic voice carrying a note of skepticism. Actions must follow words. How do you plan to prove your sincerity? Hayes looked up, meeting the council member's gaze. His voice steadied further, driven by a newfound determination. By taking responsibility, he said firmly. I'll step down from my position, if that's what it takes. I'll cooperate fully with your investigations and ensure that every unethical program is dismantled. I won't make excuses or try to hide behind politics. This is my fault, and I'll face the consequences. Laura felt a surge of pride mixed with sorrow. Hayes' confession was both an act of bravery and an acknowledgement of failure. She turned back to the council, her tone pleading but resolute. Please, give us a chance. Humanity has made terrible mistakes, but we've also shown resilience, creativity, and compassion. We've overcome challenges before, and we can do it again, with guidance. The council exchanged silent glances, their thoughts hidden behind impassive faces. Finally, the lead representative spoke. We will deliberate on your case, it said. But know this, trust is not easily earned, nor is forgiveness freely given. You must prove yourselves worthy of both. With that, the hearing adjourned, leaving Hayes and his team to wait anxiously for the council's decision. As they returned to Earth aboard the shuttle, Hayes sat quietly, staring out the window at the blue planet below. Laura sat beside him, unsure of what to say. After a long silence, he finally spoke. I don't know if this will be enough, he said softly. But at least I told the truth. That's more than I've done in a long time. Laura nodded, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. It's a start, she replied. And sometimes, that's all we can hope for. Back on Earth, news of Hayes' confession spread rapidly. Protests erupted in cities around the globe, with some calling for justice and others demanding leniency. Despite the chaos, one thing was clear. Humanity's fate now rested not just on the Council's judgment, but on its ability to rise above its past and embrace a better future. The days following the trial were tense and uncertain. Humanity waited anxiously for the Galactic Council's decision, but no announcement came. Instead, the aliens remained silent, their massive ship still hovering over Earth like a watchful guardian. President William Hayes spent most of his time in seclusion, avoiding public appearances and media scrutiny. He knew that stepping down from his position was inevitable, but the thought of leaving behind a legacy of failure weighed heavily on him. Ambassador Laura Bennett, however, refused to give up. She worked tirelessly, meeting with council members individually to plead humanity's case. Her persistence paid off when one of them, a being named Zenara, agreed to speak with her privately. Zenara's demeanor was softer than the others, her glowing eyes filled with curiosity rather than judgment. You care deeply for your species, Zenara observed as they sat together in a quiet chamber aboard the mothership, even after everything you've uncovered about them. Laura nodded, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Yes, I do. Humans are flawed. We make mistakes, sometimes terrible ones, but we also have the capacity to grow. We've faced extinction-level events before, and each time, we found a way to survive and adapt. Zenara tilted her head slightly, studying Laura with an intensity that made her feel both small and significant. Survival is not enough, she said gently. Growth requires acknowledgement of harm done and a commitment to repair it. Can your people truly embrace this? Laura hesitated, thinking of the protests raging across Earth. Some demanded accountability for Hayes' actions, while others argued that humanity deserved a second chance. The divisions ran deep, but amidst the chaos, there were also signs of hope. Communities coming together, leaders proposing reforms, and ordinary citizens calling for change. I believe we can, Laura replied firmly. But it won't be easy. It will take time, effort, and sacrifice. And yes, some may resist, but many more want to build a better future, not just for themselves, but for generations to come. Zenara seemed to consider this, her shimmering form shifting subtly. My own civilization once faced a similar reckoning, she admitted. We destroyed ecosystems, waged wars, and nearly annihilated ourselves. It took centuries of humility and cooperation to heal the damage. Perhaps your people can learn from our journey. Encouraged by Zanera's words, Laura returned to Earth with renewed determination. She met with Hayes, who had grown increasingly withdrawn. Sitting across from him in his dimly lit office, she shared what Zanera had told her. This isn't just about punishment or forgiveness, Laura explained. It's about proving that we're willing to change. That means dismantling harmful systems, holding ourselves accountable, and working together toward a brighter future. Hayes listened quietly, his expression thoughtful. For the first time in days, he looked less burdened, as if a weight had been lifted. You're right, he said finally. I've spent my life chasing power, thinking I could protect Earth by controlling everything. But maybe real leadership is about letting go, about trusting others to carry the torch. Together, they drafted a proposal outlining concrete steps humanity would take to address its flaws. These included shutting down unethical programs, implementing strict environmental protections, and establishing transparency in governance. Hayes insisted on including a personal letter of apology, addressed not only to the Council but to all of humanity. When the Council reconvened, Laura presented the plan, her voice steady and sincere. Hayes followed, reading his letter aloud. His words were raw and heartfelt, acknowledging his failures while pledging to support meaningful reform. The room was silent as he finished, the council members exchanging glances. Finally, the lead representative spoke. Your actions thus far suggest a willingness to change, it said. But trust must be earned through consistent effort. We will guide you, but the responsibility lies with you. As the meeting concluded, Laura felt a glimmer of hope. Hayes, though weary, managed a small smile. They didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. Humanity had taken its first step toward redemption. The Galactic Council's decision came as a mix of relief and challenge. They agreed to give Earth a second chance, but with strict conditions that would test humanity's resolve. The Council demanded the immediate dismantling of all weapons of mass destruction, the restoration of damaged ecosystems, and complete transparency in government operations. Most importantly, they required Earth to establish a global council to oversee these changes, ensuring accountability at every level. President William Hayes publicly announced his resignation shortly after the verdict, stepping down from his position without resistance. In a televised address, he admitted his mistakes and urged humanity to unite under a shared vision of progress. I leave office knowing I failed you in many ways, he said, his voice steady but tinged with regret. But I also believe in our ability to rise above our flaws. Let this be a new beginning, not just for me, but for all of us. Ambassador Laura Bennett took on a temporary leadership role, tasked with implementing the Council's directives. It was a daunting responsibility, but she approached it with determination and clarity. Her first act was to assemble a diverse team of scientists, activists, and diplomats to draft plans for reform. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she also saw an opportunity, a chance to rebuild not just policies, but trust. Zanera, the alien council member who had shown sympathy for humanity's plight, became an unexpected ally. She offered guidance, sharing stories of her civilization's struggles and how they overcame similar challenges. Change is painful, Zanera told Laura during one of their meetings, but it is also transformative. Focus on small victories and let them inspire greater efforts. Laura took Zanera's advice to heart. Under her leadership, Earth began taking bold steps toward redemption. Factories once spewing pollution were retrofitted with clean energy systems. Deforested areas were replanted, and wildlife reserves expanded. Nations that had long been divided started working together, pooling resources to tackle global issues like climate change and poverty. For the first time in decades, there was a sense of unity, a shared purpose driving humanity forward. Hayes, meanwhile, retreated from public life. He spent his days in solitude, reflecting on his actions and their consequences. Though vilified by some, he found solace in knowing that his confession had paved the way for meaningful change. Occasionally, he wrote letters to Laura, offering advice or simply expressing gratitude for her strength and vision. As months passed, the impact of these efforts became visible. Skies cleared, rivers flowed cleaner, and communities thrived in ways they hadn't before. People around the world rallied behind the reforms, seeing them not as punishments imposed by aliens, but as opportunities to create a better future. Protests gave way to celebrations, and skepticism turned into optimism. One evening, Laura stood on a balcony overlooking Washington, D.C., watching the sunset paint the sky in vibrant hues. Zinara joined her, her shimmering form blending seamlessly with the fading light. "You've done well," Zinara said softly. "Your people are proving that they can rise to the occasion." Laura smiled, though her eyes remained serious. "We're far from perfect, but we're trying. That's what matters, isn't it?" Zinara nodded. "Yes, and sometimes trying is enough." Below them, the city buzzed with life, a testament to humanity's resilience and potential. Laura felt a surge of hope, not just for Earth's survival, but for its ability to grow, to heal, and to dream of a brighter tomorrow. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity had taken its first real step toward becoming something greater. Months had passed since the Galactic Council's decision, and Earth was beginning to transform. The changes weren't easy, far from it, but they were happening. Factories that once polluted the air now ran on clean energy, their chimneys silent and smoke-free. Rivers that had been choked with waste flowed clear again, teeming with fish and wildlife. Forests, replanted with care, began to reclaim land that had long been stripped bare. People everywhere were adjusting to a new way of life, one focused on balance and cooperation rather than greed and division. Ambassador Laura Bennett remained at the forefront of these efforts, her leadership steady and inspiring. She traveled across the globe, meeting with leaders and citizens alike, listening to their concerns and celebrating their successes. Her message was simple but powerful. Humanity had made mistakes, but it also had the strength to fix them. Under her guidance, a global council was formed, bringing together representatives from every nation to ensure transparency and accountability. For the first time in history, Earth felt like a united planet, working together for a common goal. President William Hayes, though no longer in power, continued to play a quiet role in the transition. He spent his days writing letters to schools, community groups, and world leaders, sharing his reflections on leadership and responsibility. His words carried weight, not because he was an authority figure, but because he spoke honestly about his failures and what he had learned from them. Many people found solace in his humility, seeing him not as a villain, but as a reminder that even those who fall can rise again. The Galactic Council watched these developments closely, sending observers to monitor Earth's progress. Zinara, the alien representative who had shown sympathy for humanity, visited often, offering advice and encouragement. "You're doing better than we expected," she told Laura during one of her visits. "Your people are proving that change is possible." Laura smiled, though her expression remained serious. "It's not perfect," she admitted. "There are still challenges, still disagreements, but we're learning how to work through them." Zinara nodded approvingly. "That's all anyone can ask for. Growth doesn't happen overnight." As the reforms took hold, humanity's relationship with the Galactic Council began to shift. What had started as a tense trial evolved into a partnership. The aliens shared knowledge and technology that helped accelerate Earth's recovery, teaching humans sustainable practices and advanced methods of resource management. In return, Earth offered its creativity, resilience, and determination, qualities that impressed even the most skeptical council members. One day, Laura received an invitation from the council to participate in a symbolic mission, a joint exploration of a nearby star system. It would be humanity's first step beyond its solar system, Guided by the very beings who had once judged it so harshly, Laura accepted immediately, knowing this was more than just a scientific endeavor. It was a gesture of trust and hope. The mission was announced to the world, sparking excitement and pride. People gathered in parks, squares, and living rooms to watch the launch. On the day of departure, Laura stood alongside a diverse crew of astronauts, scientists, and engineers, representing nations from every corner of the globe. Hayes, now frail but content, watched from a distance, his eyes filled with quiet pride. As the spacecraft lifted off, trailing fire and light, cheers erupted around the world. For the first time in centuries, humanity looked to the stars not with fear or greed, but with wonder and purpose. The journey ahead would be long and uncertain, but it symbolized something profound. A fresh start, built on honesty, collaboration, and the belief that even the gravest sins could lead to redemption. Laura gazed out the window as Earth grew smaller behind them, her heart swelling with hope. Whatever lay ahead, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity had finally begun to grow up. Years passed, and Earth continued to heal. The scars of its past were still visible: abandoned factories, reforested lands, and monuments dedicated to lessons learned. But they served as reminders of how far humanity had come. The Global Council, once a fragile experiment in cooperation, had become a cornerstone of governance, ensuring that decisions were made with transparency and care. People no longer thought of themselves as citizens of separate nations, but as members of one planet, united by shared goals and values. William Hayes spent his final years in quiet reflection, writing letters and journals that would later be published as a testament to his journey. Though he remained a controversial figure, many came to see him not as a symbol of failure, but as proof that even the most flawed individuals could seek redemption. His writings inspired countless others to confront their own mistakes and strive for better futures. Laura Bennett, now an elder stateswoman, looked back on her life with pride. She had played a key role in guiding humanity through its darkest hour, helping it emerge stronger and wiser. Her work earned her respect across the globe, but what she valued most was the sense of purpose she had found. She often visited schools, speaking to young people about the importance of honesty, courage, and collaboration. "The future isn't something we wait for," she would tell them. "It's something we create." The partnership between Earth and the Galactic Council flourished. Humanity's first joint mission to explore a nearby star system returned with valuable data and new insights into the universe. More missions followed, each one deepening the bond between Earth and its alien allies. The aliens, once distant judges, became teachers and friends, sharing knowledge that helped humanity unlock new possibilities. One evening, Laura stood on a hill overlooking a bustling city. The air was clean, the lights twinkling like stars against the night sky. Beside her stood Zanara, who had become a trusted friend over the years. Together, they watched as a spacecraft launched into orbit, carrying another crew of explorers toward the unknown. "You've done well," Zanara said softly, her glowing form shimmering under the moonlight. "Your people have proven that change is possible." Laura nodded, her eyes glistening with emotion. "It wasn't easy," she admitted. "There were times when I thought we wouldn't make it, but we kept going, step by step." Zanara smiled, a gesture that seemed almost human. "That's the beauty of growth. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a series of small victories, each one leading to the next." As the spacecraft disappeared into the heavens, Laura felt a deep sense of peace. Humanity had faced its darkest truths and emerged stronger because of it. Mistakes had been made, yes, but they had also been acknowledged and corrected. The road ahead would always have challenges, but Earth was ready to face them, not with fear or arrogance, but with humility and hope. Back in classrooms, laboratories, and homes around the world, people carried the lessons of the past into the future. They planted trees, built sustainable cities, and dreamed of reaching farther into the cosmos. The story of Earth's redemption became a beacon of inspiration, not just for humanity, but for other civilizations watching from afar. In the end, it wasn't perfection that defined Earth. It was the willingness to try, to learn, and to grow. And as the stars shone brightly above, they seemed to whisper a message. The journey was just beginning.